paid him a £5,000 sourcing fee, and then radio silence. To me, like, the issue wasn't losing the money. The issue was I never seen it coming. There was this idea that there was going to be loads of passive income generated, living life sat on a beach with a bottle of beer. Can we turn a failed property venture into something that is actually bringing money in instead of bleeding it out every month? There's upsides to working offshore as well as downside.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Founders Unscripted. Today I'm joined by a guest, a client and now a good friend, Mr. Calum Newlands, and he's had a fair journey from losing money in property to building up a side hustle while working offshore, bringing up a young family, and we're going to dive into that story and how there's many lessons and a lot of self-development along the way as well, I think it's fair to say. So I guess the first question, Calum, is your focus at the minute is offshore working and you're very heavily pushing to be in a position within your property business to potentially choose to no longer go offshore. How much has that been driven out of maybe fear of how the industry currently is in oil and gas and the uncertainty in the future, or more to do with the potential of what property can give you? How's that kind of driver for you?
There's so many different elements to this, to be honest. Like, there's enjoyment of the job, the inherent danger that's kind of there that you didn't really consider on a day-to-day basis. There's the uncertainty of the industry, the uncertainty, I would say, of employers' strategies and business models. And then there's the personal elements. Do I want to be spending so much time offshore with a young family? And as you've touched on there, it's kind of like, okay, I maybe didn't want to be working offshore, but how could life look if I had something like the property business up and running on the side and potentially then gone full-time into that?
Yeah. So you touched on like enjoying the job. You do, I presume? Yeah.
Aye, to a certain extent, as much as anybody enjoys their work, but I come from a background, I used to be in the Merchant Navy,
Okay.
and there's a lot less, I would say, red tape. It's a lot easier to actually get at a job, get the tools in your hands. For us in the North Sea, safety is a fantastic thing, but a lot more of the job is admin, which is nae my bag. Okay. I dislike the spanners in my hands, and it's just getting more difficult to get them.
Yeah. So if you used to take us back to going from the Merchant Navy into oil and gas, have you progressed up the ranks, or have you purposely not done that because you've been building up property on the side? Or?
So it's slightly different in the Merchant Navy. Like, back in the day, my goal was to be chief engineer. Okay. Everybody wanted to be chief engineer. At the time I was single. I then got a girlfriend, now my wife. Mm-hmm. And I stayed in one company too long, or longer than I should have, with the promise of promotion that never came. So again, it comes back to the employer's business model, because they were actually selling off ships. Right. So instead of needing more people and promoting people within the business, they were actually letting people go. So there's a couple of rounds of redundancies there, which I made it through, but I still never got that steps up the ladder that I was hoping for. So I changed shipping companies. I did one trip there, again in the same sort of position, before an opportunity came up in the North Sea. The pay is better in the North Sea, and the time off's a lot better. So in the Merchant Navy, I was doing probably anyway between 3 and 4 month trips. Now I'm 2 on 3 off, which is way better, but it's good, but how good could it be if I didn't have to do that anymore either? So there's that element to it. So in terms of the progression, like, I've definitely had a mindset shift. Okay. I used to be very career orientated. Yeah. For us, I think I came to the realization, or it's my opinion now, that if I applied the same sort of drive and determination that I previously applied to wanting to progress. Now that's not to be confused with nae trying at your job. Yeah. It's just redirecting how you're spending your energy and your focus in your downtime. So aye, that's kind of...
And I guess that shifted into the property.
So, aye, well, that's what ultimately I've decided to point it.
Yeah.
And aye, the return, even in the short couple of years we've been at it, the return we've seen there to date has been way more than I could have possibly gained if I was still working towards chief engineer.
Yeah. And what kind of role are you in just now offshore?
So I'm part of the mechanical team, but the asset I'm working on used to be an oil tanker, but they converted it into a production asset. Yeah. So there's a team of mechanics, and typically they'll look after the topsides production equipment. I'll look after the machinery in the engine room. Yeah. So there's a lot of the machinery that's there that's still original when the ship was built as an oil tanker. So kind of maintenance, compressors, valves, boilers, and it's a strange role. It's kind of like a operator and maintainer of the space.
Yeah, and offshore at the minute. So I ex-oil and gas, but never been offshore, right? So how is it being surrounded by, what's the mindset of offshore folk typically that you're working with, and is that quite a challenge for you in terms of, I feel personally, those that maybe do a side hustle or they've got other interests out with their drive in their career have a different sort of growth mindset. Do you find, are offshore people like that, or are they quite opposite of that? How does that?
I think it's becoming more acceptable or more common for offshore workers to have something going on the side.
Interesting, okay.
Not everybody shares that.
Yeah.
Again, it's not for everybody. A lot of folk are happy in their positions. They enjoy their job. They're still looking for that progression, which is absolutely fine. Everybody's got their own route, but I think I just seen a flyer sitting on the table in the tea shack the other day for a competition company, and I'm guessing it was somebody who just came off the chopper that had put them in there. So you are starting to see more and more, although there may be no advertising, that folk have got stuff going on the side.
And what do you think's driving that?
Again, probably just uncertainty in the industry. Like, just this morning, we actually had a guy, he got off the chopper and he got told, thanks for your service, but you're not required back.
No warning?
No warning. Well, he was in a consultancy period, but
okay.
I'm surprised. I would say that.
Yeah.
No surprise, it's him, obviously, but.
And surprised just due to good at his job?
Aye.
And yeah, surprised.
Fits in well with the team. As far as I was concerned, he was good at his job. But somebody disagreed. So.
And how big a driver is that for you in terms of having that experience?
Well, luckily I've never had it, right?
Yeah.
But every place I've worked has went through rounds of redundancy at some point. And it's terrifying, to be honest, because you wonder, will it be me? Mm-hmm. And when will it be me? So, I mean, I live in an area where I would say the opportunities out with oil and gas are pretty slim. There's no massive industry. It's an ex-fishing community, mm-hmm. and fishing's non-existent. Yep. Non-existent, but it's nowhere near what it once was. Yeah. No. Yeah. So realistically, if I'm not working offshore, I probably need to be commuting to somewhere like Aberdeen or move closer to Aberdeen. It's just not for me.
Isn't better thinking.
No. So, aye.
So how did that make you feel when you heard the news?
Honestly, I was shocked.
Really?
But as you say, it's a boot up the arse to say, right, okay, we're doing well, but can we act with a bit more urgency? So the sooner we're in a position for that news does not really matter anymore. For me, that's a good place to be.
Yeah. So that's a good place to probably put our focus and attention on at the property side. So obviously, I've known you now for about 2.5 years. I think it's roughly about that. I remember you and your brother coming to me very sceptical about the whole, I guess even property industry, just on past experiences, but the whole exposure to coaching and how that looked, and probably sceptical of me as well. I would say that's fair. But what kind of started that interest in property? If you could take us back to that first thought of, right, I maybe need to take something into my own hands here and maybe not have that fear of the redundancy happening and try and build something. Do you remember that earliest kind of memory?
So, well, going back to my merchant navy days, I was invested in this fund. I'll not name names, but basically they were taking your money and putting it in high-rise accommodation, which was fine. You got a share of the rental income and you got a share of the capital increase of the value of the property. So I was doing that for probably about 18 months, and it was kind of bad. You could see the trend line creeping up nicely. But then the Grenfell Tower incident happened. So it came to light basically that loads of these high-rise buildings had cladding that it wasn't suitable for purpose. So the value of the portfolio tanked, a pretty big dent in the account and that. So that was the sort of first setback. But at that point, it sparked my interest because I could see it was working prior to that event. Yeah. So after I came off of the Merchant Navy, I basically had a pot of cash saved up, just for working away for so long, with nothing to spend on. So me and my wife were actually thinking about buying a flat in Inverness, but we're running the numbers, and when you're buying it in your personal name, because at the time that was the only option I thought was available to you, when I was running the numbers, I wasn't understanding how folk were making it profitable, and I definitely wasn't understanding how folk were able to make it scalable. Yeah. So we parked it basically, and then I think it was probably about a year later, I was speaking to Adam about the same thing, but we were looking at someone in Glasgow, thinking if we club together, we can maybe scale it a wee bit quicker. But again, it was using that same buy it in your personal name, put it on a repayment mortgage. The strategy, it just didn't make sense. So again, we never pulled the trigger on anything. And then we were doing loads of research online, so we started to get exposure to other different strategies that are available. And the one that caught our eye was rent to rent. Okay. And the reasons for that was it was low barrier to entry, so we thought we can get multiple properties if things are going well. Yeah. We can scale it up and then potentially start buying them. But long story short, we were working with a deal sourcer, and he found us a first deal. I took this one on personally. I liked the look of it. I paid him a £5,000 sourcing fee, and then radio silence. The deal never materialised into anything, never got a set of keys, and it took a long, long time to get that money back. So that was setback number 2, and then we tried a different sourcer, took 2 deals on from him, and were probably very naive. We didn't scrutinise the numbers as much as we should have. He had definitely overpromised and underdelivered, I would say. So we ended up in a position we were losing money every month because we were paying rent, utilities, council tax, and we weren't bringing in the bookings to cover them. So we ended up handing the keys back to that, but we had leased furniture we had to pay off. A very similar situation on the second deal, which it just kind of left I would say, a bitter taste in the mouth. And it was at that sort of point, Adam had said, right, I think we need help.
So did you feel like it was very much either you were winging it or you just knew there was someone you weren't doing right?
Aye, winging it. Well, to me, like, the issue wasn't losing the money. The issue was I never seen it coming.
Okay.
So there was probably a bit of anxiety there, thinking, right, if I've made an arse of this, am I going to back an arsehole in the future? If I'm going to continue, because like I was never put off trying something else. Even after the bricklaying setback, well, I've named them now. Okay. After that setback, after the deal sourcer ran off with the fee, after the 2, like, we just kept going. But I thought, right, there's going to come a point where we run out of money. Like, we keep swinging and missing. So we might as well just pay to get some education here, get some help. And the funny thing is, I actually says to Adam, right, once we get that £5,000 sourcing fee back, that's when we'll pull the trigger. But if I'd waited for that, I would have probably only started a year ago.
By which point you had probably 10 properties under the belt at that point. So tell me about the time of the financial impact and the burden that I had. So obviously 5k sourcing fee felt like it probably was lost, right? And you have recouped it, and then there was more money down the drain with the next deals producing the income, right? So how much, if you're willing to share, of a financial outlay and potential loss was there at that time? And
in total, about £30,000.
Really?
Aye.
But the key thing I've taken from what you've just said is, even though you were 30 grand in the hole effectively, there's probably so many people who have just been like, right, fuck this, we're done. Let's just save our face. We'll recoup that one way or another. But what I find interesting about you two guys is that you mentioned it, you kept going. What was it that made you keep going?
Well, the alternative's known. If we stop trying, we know.
You failed.
That's it, I suppose. You've only lost if you stop trying. Like, I know that if I didn't try again and I didn't make a success of something, I'm probably going to be offshore till 60, possibly longer.
If you're made redundant.
If I've not made redundant,
yeah.
aye. So it wasn't the fear of making a mistake elsewhere, because we've made mistakes since, like nowhere near as drastic, but like I would say micro mistakes. But the alternative to me is probably worse.
I've not been able to achieve what you want to.
Aye, well, I mean, there's loads of reasons why we've started a business, like things we're trying to move towards, but there are definitely things that we're moving away from or want to move away from that are probably, at that time, were more powerful.
Yeah, that push and pull.
Aye.
So very much coming from a place of running away from.
Aye, at the time. I mean, like we've since probably uncovered a lot that we're running towards, which is exciting. I would say we're more motivated by that now than the fear or the consequences of stopping trying.
I understand. I love that. So how has that changed over time for you then? Because it was very much running away from a place of fear and uncertainty towards now the vision piece. You mentioned you're more clear on the vision side of things. So talk to me about your thought process, your discussions with your brother Adam, when I mentioned Adam too much yet, but in terms of how did it become clearer with the vision? Was it more a case of, as you've actually just thought, fuck it, we'll just keep going, that path's almost become clearer for you? Or would you say that was always there, but how has it developed?
So back when we were in the middle of the losses, like the heaviest kind of loss period, I would say the vision or the goal was just to turn the ship around. Can we turn a failed property venture into something that is actually bringing money in instead of bleeding it out every month? Yeah. So then when we achieved that, okay, right, if it's the next step, can we buy our first buy-to-let? Okay, right, so we've got one buy-to-let. This is how much money it's generating. So that equates to, it might be a holiday every year. Okay, so if it would to look like, so the goalposts just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. I would say till we got to a stage far that if something really bad happened, like maybe I'm injured at work, I'm ill, I can't go to work, like I would say I'm probably covered. Yeah. And then at that point, the fear of having to work offshore, or I say fear of having to work offshore, the thought of having to do that, like I didn't feel that pressure. So now it's more, fit would I like life to look like, or fit could it look like if I continue to grow, if I continue to push. And as I say, that's changed over time. And it's slightly different for both of us because like Adam's in a very different stage of life to myself. I've got a young family, so it's constantly just weighing up like how much am I enjoying my current situation versus if it's the cost of change. So
touching on coaching, right? So parking aside the fact that it was me and that was helping you, how did that process of having a coach, having someone in your corner who's maybe further along than where you're currently at and what you're wanting to achieve, how did that impact you personally in terms of like a development standpoint? Were you quite growth minded prior to it, or did that?
Probably no.
Okay.
So again, I think it comes back to the sort of lifestyle that's portrayed by the coaches that we had seen on social media.
Okay.
So there was this idea that there was going to be loads of passive income generated, living life sat on a beach with a bottle of beer, and at the time that sounded fantastic, but like it's so weird, right? Because the thing you have to build to potentially live that lifestyle, I think having or still going through the process of building that, you become a kind of person that doesn't really want to do that anymore. So I've definitely changed.
How would you describe how you've changed?
It's a growth mindset. So I'm probably less content just sitting doing nothing. Okay. I have to be working on something. Like my free time looks very different now than it used to. So I used to be quite happy just sitting watching the telly. Yeah. But I still enjoy sitting watching the telly with my wife, but I can't do that for a length of time. I have to have something that I'm working on. Like even within the business, like we didn't really stop much, which we're trying to do more because we've never really taken any time out to just acknowledge that we have done, because we're just pushing on to the next thing. So that never used to be there.
Yeah. So touching on that, what have Adam and Calum Newlands achieved in the property in the past sort of 2.5 years since you've kind of recovered from the 30K, the loss, and probably the feelings and anxiety that you touched on that came through that? What have you then went on to do?
Well, I think we've probably done in the region about 45 deals now. So there's a mixture. Some of them's retained in our own portfolio. Some of them are still in legals. And about 20 to 25 of them have been sourced to other people looking to invest in property. So that's kind of like a high level look at how our portfolio looks. But there's kind of like wee bits within the business, like raising finance. We've had to kind of develop a skill set around that as well. I mentioned the sourcing, so I think we've probably, in total since we started, probably done about 70,000 in deal sourcing. So that's an area we're focusing on more now. It's weird, like the business goes through seasons, like you're pushing one thing, then you're pushing a different thing.
And then that other thing gets neglected because you've went all in here and it's that yo-yo. Yeah.
So it's been a good experience. Like we're obviously involved in the coaching side as well now, which is quite exciting. That's a new addition since I think last September or something.
Yeah.
Is that exciting?
Yeah. And in terms of still currently working offshore, Adam works full time as a chartered accountant. And like you said, you've got different kind of personal scenarios where he's, marrying the kids and you do, right? So how do you juggle being able to work offshore, have a small young family, and push a business to the scale you have? Because to do, 45 deals in 2.5 years is not realistic for a lot of folk, right? So what's been the secret sauce for you that has worked really well?
I can't speak for Adam, but personally, using offshore, like ringing every drop out every second, because the reality is, like, I'm there for 2 weeks, so you've got your 12-hour shift, but then you've got a period of time between finishing your work and getting your bed, and realistically, there's no much you can do. Either, like, do you want to go to the gym? Do you want to watch the Fitbah? I use that time, so I'll finish work, I'll eat, I'll phone him, and then it's gym, playing my pipes, and then the rest of the time is just property. Then I'll go to sleep, and I'll do that for 2 weeks. So it's maximising the opportunity when you're offshore, because there's upsides to working offshore as well as downsides.
Yeah, you've got the bedtime routines, kids,
So I come home tired for offshore because I do a lot.
Okay.
So when I come home, it's an opportunity to recharge, but the idea being I've done a lot of the donkey work up front. So when I come home, it's more just keeping it ticking over. Having Adam helps. So we used to do the same things within the business, which made absolutely no sense. And it was more because we were probably lacking in confidence in what we were doing. So it was just to have a sense check.
Yeah, bounce off each other, yeah.
But you're losing so much there because you've got so much potential with having two people. Like, you can do double the work everybody else can if they're working on their own. Yeah. So if you're not dividing and conquering, you're kind of missing out.
Yeah. And I love that. So in terms of 12-hour shifts offshore, right? So how big of a window have you got typically to focus on the property side when it sounds like you've still got a pretty structured routine with touch base with family, eating, all the stuff you need to, right? But what was it, 2 hours, 3 hours a day on property?
Minimum 2 hours, aye.
Okay.
So especially at the beginning, because I was less focused in terms of the actual tasks I was doing. I was just right, I need to do something. You get a half an hour break in the morning, you get an hour for your lunch, half an hour in the afternoon, and then I've probably got a couple of hours in the evening. That's what's available. I'm not saying that gets used at the time, because it's a lot. Yeah. But now it's very much, all right, this is the task list, and it's very much in and out, so I don't have to commit that much time to it. I can choose to relax it a wee bit. Yeah.
It just does as a result of getting clearer on the process that you need to focus on, what you're focusing on, whereas at the start maybe it's a case of, right, you need to work all this out.
Aye.
Because coaching is one thing, but actually going and doing it yourself is another thing. Is that
figuring out the nuts and bolts of how our business actually works?
Yeah.
Once we had a grasp on that, it was easier to say, right, this is far the biggest return on your time is. Even within that, like, we're still tweaking stuff all the time, but we're very much driven by results. So as in, we keep data on a lot of the stuff that we do. So we can, if we double down on this thing, we can it works. So if we double down on that, we're going to get a big return. We've seen absolutely hee-haw here, so let's just knock that on the head. It's just constantly changing, seeing if it improves things. And
yeah, I love that. One of my coaches has a good saying is, your business will never be finished. There's always something broken or something you need to adapt or pivot on. And it can feel, I don't know, challenging in the mind in terms of, right, shit, we've just spent 3 months beating our head against the wall, trying to go down this path, and now we've just realised it's not working. And I think that's the biggest thing I see that separates those that do well, even in just business, is their ability to be okay with it. Whereas a lot of people, maybe if they're early on in their journey, they've lost 30 grand, right? They've spent 3 months where it feels like time's wasted, there's been no results, or they've lost the cash. It would just completely wipe them out the game. So is there something that you were exposed to being brought up with a mindset or a resilience, your parents, or where do you think that came from? Because
I'm not sure.
It's a choice. You could have just wiped it out or not.
I think it's because we're in it together. If I'd been in it on my own, I might have been more likely to call it quits. And if Adam had been on his own, he might have done the same. But I think there was maybe like a feeling of responsibility to each other that we need to sort this out. But I think growing up, like I would say I was taught to be a pretty good saver. So, but I was also probably aware that there was risk involved with investment. So I would say it was quite conservative, is why we were taught to handle money.
That's interesting. So the dynamic between you and Adam now, so you said he's kind of both mixed in doing the same kind of things. How does that look in terms of your role and Adam's role, and how did you come to determine who was better at what?
So, I mean, there's kind of two elements to that. So we've got different lifestyles, as in time availability. Adam works a 9 to 5, so he's probably less available. And he's got a different skill set. So Adam looks after the off-market stuff. What I mean by that is properties that aren't on the open market. So Adam's been very heavily involved with developing a system whereby we can reach out to folk, they can get in touch with us and kind of manage that process of buying and selling properties. Yeah. Whereas I'm more focused on the traditional on-market stuff, dealing with estate agents on a daily basis and trying to get business in the door that way. In terms of raising finance, I would say that's kind of like a shared wheelhouse. Obviously, we've both got different networks, but I would say we've got different skill sets in being able to have that discussions with folk. Like Adam can relate to white collar office workers, for example. Yeah. I'm obviously able to relate to offshore oil and gas workers or folk in industry. So it's just, I suppose, like, the only thing that comes up in between, it's a case of looking at, right, fit is the challenge here and Faz actually best suited to handle that. Nice. So,
and you think that'll change over time, or do you see that just, you feel like you've got all that kind of well oiled at the minute?
I mean, we're quite comfortable in our positions just now. There'll be other stuff comes up, like there'll be new stuff we try. Right, okay, somebody's going to have to take responsibility for this. Yeah. Just talk as it comes. Yeah.
Touching on business partnerships, obviously Adam's your brother, relative. How you found that dynamic working with family? Do you think that would have been different if you'd went into partnership with, say, your best mate or anything? Do you think that's important?
I think that our partnership is less severable, I would say, than, again, that's totally like my opinion. Yeah. But I think it's harder for me to, if I wanted to stop the business because it's Adam, because he's my brother. Yeah. But like, I just think I'm so lucky that through all that shite in the beginning, he never changed his opinion. He wanted to keep going. Like, I think that would have been really tough if one of us wanted to keep at it and the other end was like, nah, yeah, enough's enough. Yeah. So, I really do feel quite lucky in that regard. Like,
yeah. How's it been for your relationship personally?
We're a lot closer.
Really?
We speak a lot more. We have to.
90% business, probably.
It is, but the thing is, like, that's what we enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, folk, I think, I get the feeling that there's like all you speak about is business. But if we liked Fitba, I would speak about Fitba. Like, I don't like Fitba, I didn't.
Yeah.
But Ken, that's just what we enjoy.
Yeah. I think there is that sense, is there out there, in terms of like, oh, you never switch off, but you don't have to switch off when you enjoy it. And
it's like a big guy. It's like a game.
Yeah. So what's next for you guys? So obviously building up a portfolio, you're at the point where you can share this if you want to, but you're close to kind of achieving a milestone where, you know, you're maybe in a position where you have the choice to no longer work offshore. Like, how does that next phase look for you?
It's exciting. That's the first thing I'll say. But we're close to a fork in the road, to be honest. Fit comes next. I mean, I think we probably do need to bolster the portfolio a wee bit more, but we're very focused on the service side of our business just now. So this year, our main goal is, we've got targets for sourcing that we want to hit, and it's basically to recoup capital. Like, we've spent a lot of money on properties. We've been able to refinance a lot of that money back out, but it's just nice to ken that there's that service side of the business that can kind of keep us moving forward and recovering that capital. Because, like, there's two sides to things. I think it would be quite difficult to get to that fork in the road purely on the income of a portfolio. So there's I'll say passive. We both ken it's not passive income, but there's the passive side for the portfolio, passive-ish, but then the active side for the service-based sourcing side. So we're trying to strike a balance for, we've got adequate portfolio income to kind of cover the basics in life, and we can probably top that up with a service-based sourcing side. But like, for me, the challenge is I didn't want to replace one job entirely with another. So like, I would like to be in a position where I can choose to kind of put the foot down there or not. So it's just, well, choice is the main goal. So I think we'll be bolstering the portfolio and then see where we're at the end of the year.
And out of curiosity, at the end of the year, if you bolster the portfolio and the boxes are being ticked in terms of what you want to achieve, do you think you'll still work offshore?
Depends, because we're actually, something we were quite curious to explore, SaaS pensions. So there would possibly be an opportunity there to maybe do an extra 6 months offshore, an extra year offshore, like really wind up the pension.
Yep.
It's something we'd be interested in working with folk on, but I would like to try it out first, see where the pitfalls are, see where the challenges are, so that if we do get the opportunity to work with somebody else on a SaaS pension that they own or they manage, we can say we've been there and done it.
Yeah. Going back a step, you mentioned you've got kind of multiple incomes. You've got the passive-ish nature of the rental portfolio. Give us an overview in terms of the business model then, because I know there's probably 2, 3, or 4 different income streams there. So you've got service accommodation?
Service accommodation, aye. So essentially, properties that we've bought refurbished, we've put on Airbnb, Booking.com, some other portals, generating income. It's mainly contractors we're getting. It's in Peterhead, we've got them just now. We're thinking about buying somewhere down the road, but it's definitely, it's like putting a turbocharger on the car. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting in the portfolio, even though we didn't have that many of them. So something we're probably going to explore further. Buy-to-lets, I think the backbone of a lot of portfolios, certainly ours. But like, the main strategy has been buy, refurbish, refinance. Everything we've bought for ourselves and done for clients has been bought, refurbished, and then refinanced to recycle the money into the next deal. On the side for that, we've got the deal sourcing. So inevitably, like, you get to stages where your capital is deployed, or you might be at a stage where you just didn't want to buy anymore, but you're still reaping the rewards of the relationships you built up with agents, the off-market leads that you're able to bring in the door. So it just makes sense to, one, like, connect an investor who's looking for that opportunity, and obviously, like, you're charging a fee for that, so it assists you with building your own portfolio as well. There's also the coaching element, which is kind of a mere recent addition to the business. But there's a few different income streams there, which is quite exciting.
How important do you think that is? I know you touched upon it in terms of, you probably couldn't maybe quit offshore if you just had the passive-ish income from the rental portfolio, but what would your advice be to anyone else that's maybe looking to get into property, is to maybe have a different couple of income revenue streams?
It just makes sense for us because, I mean, a lot of the work that you're doing to build your own portfolio, sourcing is just like it's just like one extra step. Yeah. So why would you explore that opportunity? I feel like it's money left on the table, and it's an opportunity to connect with other investors, because like the thing that surprised me about this is you never came for opportunities to get a comfy. Yeah. So we've had taps on the shoulder with somebody bringing us opportunities or wanting to work together we'd never seen it coming, but just because we've built up relationships with previous projects, having sent them stuff, they send us stuff, like it's amazing if it pops up.
Yeah. The business is thriving, right? I know that, and the listeners can obviously see that themselves on social media, and that's one thing I was going to touch upon. Your social media presence between the two of you is very consistent, out there, good, a lot of value for people in terms of like potential clients or yours. But if you was to go back to the beginning, start on the property side, and you decided we're not going to do the whole social media thing, how do you think your business would look today?
Like, you're shooting yourself in the foot, to be honest. Like, again, it's such a powerful tool. And I think like a lot of it's probably, we had the fear of probably looking daft in front of friends and family back at the beginning on social media, like, what's this boy think he is? And I think that, I mean, other folk can correct me if I'm wrong, but I really think folk don't care. They do not care. So you might as well just put yourself out there, because like if you've got a product or a service, people need to know. Otherwise, how are they going to get in touch? Like it's never going to work. If you're doing things by word of mouth, like it's going to take ages. And the process, like marking social media content and posting it for us, like first of all, like I'm not a massive fan of AI for this stuff. Yeah. I think the process you go through marking your content, you start asking yourself questions that I never would have had I not been marking the content, which prepares you even better for having the conversations face to face with folk.
Yeah. So. I sometimes found as well, early on when I was creating content, it made me understand my offering better.
Aye.
Because it made me think of, well, I need to explain this in a way that makes sense to somebody who maybe doesn't have the experience and the knowledge and the understanding that I do, which is class. But the thing I notice with your content in particular is you seem to like hone in on the relative things that will attract other people to work with you. So you mentioned like Adam's obviously white collar office type people, you're the offshore. So a lot of your content's based around your actual circumstances or stuff that you've been through, and not necessarily just property stuff as well.
Aye.
Is that a focus for you to continue kind of, generating growth within social media?
Aye, like 100%. Like I just feel like it's an opportunity for me to help people in a position that I'm in the exact position that I'm trying to help people get out of.
Yeah.
So I can only reach folk, like the more I lean into social media, the more people in my position I can reach, the more people I can help. And ultimately the better the business is going to be doing. So like we'll continue to use social media, we'll continue to fuck things up, we'll continue to nail things. Like it's just, we're experimenting all the time. And like I say, we'll keep an eye on the posts that are doing really, really well. And like, there's different ways of measuring that. Mm-hmm. It might be engagement on the post, but it might actually be how many people actually get in touch off the back of it, which is totally like two totally different things. And then if we see something, that was a wee bit different, but it's went through the roof.
It's unpicking it.
Let's try and mark a similar video. Let's try and mark similar posts and double down on it.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned fuck-ups, right? We've obviously covered the ones at the beginning with the losses financially, but what's your opinion on fuck-ups? You think they're essential? Do you think you should embrace them? Or, because a lot of people probably listening to this, maybe if they're early on or thinking about starting something on the side, right? It's the biggest thing that stops people is the fear of fucking up. So what's your approach to an opinion to it?
Obviously, a man of experience here, but
even now, you know, even what you have done.
I think if you're gunning into something, thinking that you're not going to fuck it up, at least a wee bit, like, you're going to be disappointed. But I think that it would be even worse is if you progressed through making no mistakes. Like, you didn't ken for the edges. Like, you didn't ken how close you can get to it without marking them. Like, I think you would grow in confidence, right? But eventually you would make a mistake and it might be huge. So if you mark wee mistakes along the way, I think that's way better because you can kind of reorient yourself as you go.
So learnings and data.
Aye. And you can continually improve. But if you've got nothing, if you've no experience of far things have went wrong, you kind of, like, how do I word this? Well, you can't improve.
Have you noticed anything in the way of scaling business where maybe at the beginning when you had the losses and you had friends and family around about you going, are you sure? Like, maybe just stop there and, like, let's rein in a little bit, compared to maybe the people you're surrounded with in business who are growth-minded now. How impactful can that be on someone, right, that's maybe just starting out in business and are maybe just influenced by those people to just, we will rein in a wee bit here?
So we were probably we're very private with those losses when they actually happened. And it's because folk close to us would have been concerned, probably, looking out for us and kind of helping us be cautious if it came next, if anything came next, and possibly encouraging us to say, look, okay, fair enough, boys, you've tried, but maybe it's time to just kind of cool your jets a wee bit. So I think I probably had it in the back of my mind there that if I had shared that information in the detail that I've just kind of discussed there, that it would have been very difficult for me to kind of overcome that kind of stay safe kind of
just because they would have more to say about it.
But like as you go on, like you get exposed to folk that have done way more than us, and they kind of look at your problems like, is that all you've got going on? Like, I wish my life was like that. So it kind of puts things into perspective for you. And we've very much moved for a point back then we were very risk averse. Well, obviously we're not that risk averse because we made some moves and lost out. But now it's like, how do we mitigate things? How do we manage things? How do we overcome that? And you're getting cheered on by folk that are further down the road than you because they can kind of see. I think they can see a wee bit of themselves. For however many years ago. So
and they probably appreciate the journey of the hurdles and the challenges and the fuck ups that you're going to make, and there's a respect comes with that.
Aye. Well, I always say the journey's the best, but like we're in it, we didn't ken it.
It's funny that because my intention when I first started in property was to get out oil and gas as quickly as I could, get my portfolio built up so it could cash flow to replace my wage. And then I slowly realised as soon as I hit it, I just kind of just stopped there.
Aye.
I get bored. What am I going to do? I kind of just sit about doing all the day. And it's like what you said, I can't, even now, I still kind of sit for 2 hours and watch a film. My mind wanders. I could be doing this, I could be thinking about that, I could be thinking about content.
Aye. It just feels like, it's sad to say it, but it feels like potential loss. Like, fit could I have done with that time and fit impact could that have had, but like there has to be doing time as well.
Yeah. You've been on a big personal development journey as well in terms of health and fitness, right? So,
aye.
How has that impacted your performance in your business and your daily life?
Probably more regimented and like, I need to get this done. And if I didn't get it done, like I go to the gym first thing in the morning and it's very difficult for me to have a bad day after that. Because I feel like it's a tick in the box, it's an easy thing to do. But like, there's so many things I like about it that you can kind of draw parallels with business and like specifically with weightlifting. Because it's, especially like Stephen, that I'm sure you're going to be speaking to, has put me through a bit of a muscle building phase. And to do that, like, there's discomfort. You have to go to a place that's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So regularly going there, I think, has been quite good for having to put out the daily fires in the business, which, like, inevitably there's always something. Like, I think last week we had a boiler go down and kind of a whole host of problems. So just having a place that you will blow off a bit of steam is a good thing. Just having a wee win at the start of every day. As I say, like, regularly kind of going to that uncomfortable place. I like it because it's evidence to me that sticking to a process works. Mm-hmm. Like, with the property stuff, it's very all or nothing. Like, you've either got a deal or you haven't got a deal. You've either got finance or you haven't got finance. But in the gym, at least I can see, right, I managed to get 1 more rep on that. I managed to up the weight on that by 1 kilo. And it's
constant feedback.
It's the closest thing I've found to property in terms of following a process that I can actually see a result week on week, session on session. So it's just like a wee reminder that just, like, sticking to it actually works.
Process.
Aye.
Yeah. I think that's often the most underlooked thing in business, isn't it? Just the boring, repetitive, daily, weekly tasks that aren't as sexy.
No.
And are often no fun. But it's probably 70% of what you need to just continue the skill.
Yeah. But, like, in terms of business, I wasn't looking after myself. I didn't think. I was putting on weight for starting a business to probably up about a year and a half ago. And it got to the point where I was kind of looking at myself going, I wouldn't have trust that lad to handle my money, or I wouldn't have trust that lad to go and find me a deal. So
really?
Because
of the perception you didn't look after yourself, you mean?
That's just how I looked at myself. So, I mean, it's always a work in progress, but just, I think it's almost like a bit of a business card. Like, okay, this lad is at least able to regulate what he eats to some extent. And
discipline,
is able to go to the gym on a semi-regular basis. So,
I like that thought.
But it's kind of, it radiates out into other areas of life as well. So
huge. Personal growth, losses, challenges, wins. What's next?
What's next?
Embrace more challenge.
Well, we never quite can. Like, just this morning, actually, Adam was telling me he's potentially raising me our finance, so potentially my projects on the cards. Well, we're definitely going to be doing our sourcing. They're the same, to be honest. Like, I quite enjoy what we're doing just now.
Yeah, just grow it.
Aye.
Nice. Well, Calum, I appreciate, what was that been, 45 minutes an hour? Appreciate you sharing that. There's a lot in there to unpack in terms of, like, the personal journey, the growth that comes with embracing challenge and the discipline with the fitness side of stuff. So, how can people reach out to you? Instagram, LinkedIn, what's the best for you?
LinkedIn, Calum Newlands. Facebook, Calum Newlands. Instagram, C Newlands Property.
Nice. Pleasure, my man.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for watching and listening.